Hi everyone. Looks like we're right on time, so I'll get us kick-started.
Morning.
Welcome to today's uh, webinar focused on our Open Innovation Challenge based on focusing on biodiversity run with the Eramet team, looking at different ways to detect, monitor, contain, control invasive alien species among various Eramet operations. As always, we like to begin with an acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge and pay respects to Indigenous, traditional and tribal peoples of the lands and waterways in which we work from today. Specifically for me, that's Quebecois land, home to the Wurundjeri people in Australia. We pay respect to those elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders here with us today. Today you'll have two webinar speakers, myself as the host from the Unearth side, and Frederic from the Eramet team as the biodiversity and water lead. We've also got a few of the Eramet team on the line. We've got Marion, partnerships and market intelligence VP, Denny, the senior expert of mine innovation, and they are the open innovation manager. So throughout the call, if you have any questions, plenty of experts on the line. So leave your questions either in the chat or save them for the end for our Q&A session. A rough agenda of what we'll be going through today. I'll walk us through introductions as I have. I'll hand over to Frederic to talk about Eramet, the biodiversity topic and background, particularly how it links to this challenge that we're running. And then I'll speak a bit more about the opportunity available here, how you can engage, and then we'll move on to the Q&A session. I'll hand over to you now, Frederic, to talk to us a bit about Eramet.
Thank you, Sam, and hello, everybody. So a few words on Eramet. Eramet is a French mining company, and it's a French mining company, but with having international position, and we are operating mines in 4 different countries. The choice we've made is to fit the objectives of a new era of metals, and we have positioned the business on the ecological transitional metals. So by that, I mean manganese, nickel, and titanium, with a mine that is about to start at the end of this year. And we're also operating mineral sands in Senegal. So to give you an idea about the size of the company, which is not that big in comparison with the major of the mining sector, we are about 11,000 people working within Eramet, and the revenue of Eramet in 2023 was 2.8 billion euro. So on next slide, a few words on the biodiversity strategy of the group. We have voluntary commitments that are public and that you can have a look on the website. It's fully public. We have first CSR roadmap, which is including different commitments in terms of environment and social aspect, and you will find 2 main objectives on biodiversity. There are also detailed commitments on biodiversity on Act for Nature International, which is an initiative that is promoted by a French coalitions of NGO, corporates, authorities, and as well financing institutions. And we also made the commitment to meet IRMA standard. IRMA is an initiative at international level for responsible mining. This is a coalition behind that has been founded in 2006, and they have developed, it took like 10 years to develop a standard where you can find expectations in terms of legal aspects, in terms of stakeholder engagement, in terms of environment and social aspects. And regarding the biodiversity aspect that we're talking today is fully aligned with other international guidance, and I don't know if some of you are familiar with them, is the guidance of the IFC, the International Finance Corporation, was detailing the mitigation hierarchy and the way to implement mitigation hierarchy inside the rehabilitations and the way to develop a quantitative approach on mining sites and in all other business to evaluate the losses and gains that you can have on biodiversity. And the idea, of course, at the end is to have a balance which is zero or even positive, to have positive contributions. And within Eramet, we have also bans that are publicly disclosed. This year, we took position against deep sea mining. So we are not doing any exploration, are not planning to do any exploration and even more operation on deep sea. And initially, we also took other positions regarding deep sea tailing placement. And we have also commitments regarding protective area. And so the biodiversity strategy is based on three main pillars. First pillar is about the fact with taking, by the way, this kind of international standard of good practice is to set ecological example in the ore extractions. The second pillar is about research and innovation project, and it's really the topic of today's webinar. And the third pillar is about raising awareness about training, sharing knowledge, and by that I mean internally within Eramet, but also with external stakeholders. And to do so, so we have a fantastic team in the innovation department that Sam mentioned just before, and we have two representatives online with Camera, Neha, and Denis today. And we have also a fantastic tool, which is foundations. It's the Foundation Eramet Biodiversity, a foundation that has the objective to also contribute to the objectives and the targets that has been set in the Global Biodiversity Framework, the GBF, that was adopted at the COP15 in 2022. And so to develop a program focusing on conservation, on protection of the ecosystem, and as well on this scientific knowledge and awareness arising in training. So to talk a bit more about the contest, about the challenge that has been open so what we decide to orient this challenge on, it's biodiversity, and more specifically on invasive alien species. Invasive alien species is a growing concern at international level. It's a concern also for Eramet, so it's not maybe priority one, but priority two, because we are facing challenges regarding IAS also in Eramet, and we have three main scenarios that I can share with you about the situation where we're facing challenge when we're talking about mining on or infrastructure linked with mining or even industrial plants. And the three main scenarios are when we are moving goods and materials. So it means when we are moving this material through the sea, and so when we have them in ports, when we do transport overland. We have also challenging when we are doing mining, and so we are moving a lot of soil, and we're storing soil and also organic matter. And in some situations, we have already invasive alien species that we know they're there when we're starting the operation. We know that from the baseline study that we are doing, and so it means a pre-inventory of the different soil and an adapted management to make sure that we're not spreading this species when moving the stocks and the soil. Yes, because what I did not mention is that within Eramet we only do open pit mining, so we're really on the surface of the lands. And maybe a third main scenario, which is about rehabilitations. So we're doing a rehabilitation progressively. As soon as the operations has been made to extract ore, then the land is free for rehabilitations. And when we do these rehabilitations, we have land that are more exposed to that kind of species that can establish very easily in comparison with any other local pioneer species. And so the objective of this challenge is really to prevent this IAS that we're having on our mining site, on our infrastructure site or industrial sites to take root and to spread. Sam, I'll let you the floor for the...
Great. Thanks, Frederic, for the comprehensive background on Eramet and the challenge. So to follow on from that objective, we have these key opportunity areas that we've identified for solutions to fall into. So those that can detect and monitor invasive alien species, and from there, solutions that can contain and then control IAS. The main solutions that are of interest, we're predominantly looking for higher TRL solutions, generally TRL 5 or above, especially those that can both detect and control. These are the submissions that are definitely of the highest value, although there are pathways for solutions that may be lower TRL, or even from a research concept. So we welcome all solutions, whether you're a research institution or a researcher, all the way to I don't know, or operator in an established business. We welcome all solutions, but it's those higher TRLs that we're really looking at. So we're really hoping that solutions show clear applicability to Eramet sites, address these key opportunity areas, and environmentally and animal friendly as well. But we're also looking for solutions that can approach some of the flora related issues as well as fauna related issues. Particularly, we've been doing some targeted outreach to those within adjacent industries, especially agriculture. So if you've got a capability there, we're really keen to hear from you. Just high level solutions that are not of interest, those that are not environmentally friendly, obviously, so chemicals that degrade biodiversity background, and those solutions that require or are limited by eDNA, so that have a location-specific biodiversity database. They're generally not what we're after for this challenge. Although if you do have an eDNA-related solution, still interested to hear from you and learn a little bit more. What's in it for yourself as an innovator? What's the opportunity? So through this challenge, we're really looking for 3 key teams to progress forward to have a site trial and pilot their technology on site. Eramet will help provide the funding necessary to perform this scale up and trialing of these solutions. So once progressing through all the stage gates, which will involve the initial submission review and then a technical one-on-one session that we'll sit down and have along with Eramet subject matter experts and the Unearth team, we'll go through what an experiment would look like. And those selected will receive funding and resources to perform this. And the key sites that we're looking to trial on are New Caledonia, Gabon, and Senegal. And this includes trials amidst different open pit mines that are undergoing rehabilitation, as well as different train lines and transport lines that can extend over various kilometers. So these are the key areas that technologies will be trialed on. In terms of the challenge timeline, we launched in late October. So the Unearth platform is open for submissions at the moment. We'll close and commence the review period mid-January, and then 2 months after that, in mid-March, we'll inform innovators of the next steps and progress further into those technical one-on-one meetings. So how do you get involved and submit to the process? Head on over to the Eramet Open Mine via this link. Here you'll be able to learn a lot more about Eramet's previous innovation in open innovation challenges that they've run, see some of the teams that have been involved there, as well as the latest open innovation challenges that are live. From there, if you do have a solution interested in learning more, there's a link that'll take you to the Unearth platform. Here you can register and go through all the different tabs, overview and description, to gain a deeper understanding of exactly what we're after. There's even a bit of information about some of the invasive alien species identified at Gabon in the description tab once you register. And then when you start a submission, you'll walk through all the different questions. In that questionnaire form, there'll be questions specifically tailored to the TRL of your solution. So those that are below TRL 5, there are some questions toward the end of the form catered for what kind of pathway would be that would work for your solution, and those that are higher TRL, looking at what does a pilot trial look like and how we can get there as soon as possible. Thanks everyone for learning a bit more about our challenge. It's been great to share where Eramet's biodiversity goals are at and how we're trying to collaborate together to help achieve these. So we'll progress on now to our Q&A session. A few areas to consider on the screen for those interested, but if anyone has a question, feel free to jump off mute or pop them into the chat and we'll answer them as soon as possible. Good opportunity to ask the Eramet team for a little bit more.
Good morning. This is Andre Evers. Is it possible to, we are working on some solutions for betting, for example, Japanese knotweed and other species, but they are new, and we don't want to see everyone what we are doing. Is it possible to do it in trust? We can show and sign an NDA before we can start.
So I can quickly touch on that, and maybe Frederick or someone else can follow on. But once you enter the Unearth platform, there's a private section that all of your details will only be visible to the Unearth team and the Eramet team. And then if there's particular details that you don't wish to disclose yet, unless under NDA, then you can specify that in your application and say, happy to share more, but only under an NDA. So the stuff you submit to the platform, it's not publicly available. It's only private to ourselves and the Eramet review panel.
And we're also working on education to prevent spreading invasive species. We do that together with Wageningen University and the Netherlands. And next year it's ready, but it's for all the people who work on the tractors and the machines, so they can recognize invasive species when they get in contact with them. We see a lot spreading through people who doesn't know they have to deal with invasive species. Is that also interesting?
Maybe I'll give that to Frederica, one of the Eramet team, to
yes,
answer.
It was not the main objective of the challenge, but still it can be of interest. But it was really not the main objective of the challenge.
Okay. But we have also on innovations, but like I said, we do it in private.
Yeah.
Okay. That were my questions.
Great. Thanks, Andre, for your questions. We've got a question from Jeff Cars. What are the key invasive alien species taxa that you are interested in?
So as I mentioned, we have 4 different locations, and we really like the idea to have a pilot of one of our mining sites. 2 of them are in Africa, and in Africa, the taxa we are interested are plants. In the country, there already exists a list of species of concerns regarding flora. And in New Caledonia, it will be much more mammals that we're talking about.
Great. Any other questions from the floor or any follow-up questions, Jeff? Thanks for your message. I've got one from Benjamin Tompkins. How does the scope of this competition, only focused on IAS, relate to the wider ecological goals and transition focus for the company? Will there be other competitions in the future to tackle some of the other issues in reaching net zero biodiversity impact? Or are you hoping that finalists now will have broader scope to help you solve the issues throughout the whole portfolio of mines? So I guess looking at the broader goals, is there something that will span after this challenge?
So yes, this is going. So maybe it's an echo to the strategy presentation that I was giving on biodiversity, and when I was saying that it was not the main issue that we're facing on mine currently. The main issue, and this is something that you might also have in mind as we are in the extractive industry. The main pressure we're having on biodiversity is associated with land transformation and land use. So the most effort we are placing today, and that we will continue to place on, is the rehabilitation, and also the process to control that we are doing clearing only on the limits that we have decide to do so. So we have also a process of internal permit and checking of these boundaries. So this is really priority 1 for Eramet, and I suppose for any open mining company. And it does not mean that we do not have the challenge of IAS also at mining, and that's what I was saying. I give you 3 main examples where we have challenges, and we have already measures in place. And the idea is to strengthen this measure and to get feed also by new ideas and innovations and technology. We had a discussion before with the team before this webinar to discuss about what is currently being done to give you an overview of, for example, what we're very interested in is to reinforce the monitoring and the identification, so on land, of this IAS. The way we're doing it, for example, in Africa today, is visual observation. So it means a lot of time, a lot of people going on land before doing mining, and afterwards when we're doing rehabilitation, to remove manually this species, this flora species. And the idea is to be more effective in the way we're processing today. So I don't know if answering the question you were having, Benjamin.
Maybe Frederick, I'll just add a short comment to Benjamin's question. So yes, this is, as Frederick mentioned, this is one of our challenge, and there is a possibility we might open up challenges for biodiversity in future. And so there can be opportunity to apply for a broader set of challenges in future. And the finalists that would be selected for this challenge will hopefully have the opportunity to expand it to other sites if the solution is proven successful. And yeah, so that's a short comment I wanted to add. Sam, hopefully you can move to the next questions if you would like.
Sounds good. Thanks, Frederic and Naya. Thanks, Benjamin, for the question. As Elizabeth has asked, are you also interested in marine alien species and how to manage them to turn them from a threat to a new economic opportunity for local communities?
So the answer, in fact, will be no. And really what we are having, or what we want to focus on, is really the arrival in the port, but the transport overseas is not under the responsibility of Eramet, and this is going with the rules and the commitments that we are requesting for the transporter with whom Eramet is dealing.
I think if there's cross compatibility or a way that your technology can be adapted, definitely still interested to hear from you. From Levi, how many projects will be successful and what is the total funding available to be split between all projects? Essentially, he's trying to identify if an anticipated pilot budget would fit the technology required. Roughly to start, I mentioned that there will be looking for 3 candidates to select to progress forward. Maybe Frederic or Naya, you can comment a bit further on funding all the projects.
I can take this question. So essentially, we don't try to put a budget on the project because in past, in some of the projects required more than anticipated funding or what we write on the cost, so that discourages many applicants. So we are open for implementing any solution that fits the purpose, and the funding will be available. So feel free to make a justified funding budget for the solution required, and we will be open to considering the budget. So we would not answer any limit right now. We'll be open to hearing what it requires to implement this or pilot this on our site.
Great, thanks, Naya. From Christy, we've got, why is eDNA excluded based on needing local reference data where the IAS are known? Frederic?
Yes, regarding eDNA, unfortunately, we do not have a lot of information in the local database to do any eDNA. So except you have a technology that is not using or that does not need to get information from national database, it could be an option. But what we wanted to let you know by that is that there is no information that you will be able to find that is robust enough to do analysis as we can do in Australia, in Europe, on eDNA in Gabon or in Senegal.
Great, thanks, Frederic, and thanks, Christy. Mara has 2 questions. The first is, in terms of detecting IAS, are you primarily looking for early detection, precise mapping, predictive modeling, or a combination of these?
Yes, clearly. That's clearly the type of thing we're looking for with the challenge. It's one of the components we're looking for. Yes.
Early detection.
It can be a combination of this. Yes. The detection, the mapping, the modeling. That's exactly is fitting with the objective fully.
Great, thanks, Frederic. So yeah, definitely a combination of all these, if anything. And then second question from our one of the sources our startup collects and analyzes data from is via the remote sensing technology. What if any data sources from Eramet are available? So would they receive access to historical biodiversity data, real-time sensor data, aerial imagery, LiDAR data, or anything like that, showing existing species distribution maps?
So from a biodiversity point of view, I can give one piece of answer that can be complete maybe by Nea or even Denis regarding the technology that has been already tested or in place on site. So yet there is historical biodiversity data, and the data is coming from a baseline study, the more comprehensive one. Then there is more detail when we go on field about the data that can be collected before opening a specific area. So all this data will be made available. So maybe about the technology, I will let Neha and Denis answer.
I think with respect to the technology, it would be good to understand what it does, but it does look like it is relevant to us. And yeah.
Regarding technology on remote sensing, we did some work using data, hyperspectral data from satellite. So yes, some of it can be made available if needed. As well, we do surveys, so we always have aerial photographs of all the sites. We use drones usually as well. So this is the kind of data you can have access to. And then there's the usual data from a mining site coming from all the truck transportation, everything, data like this. Regarding biodiversity data itself, you would have data on water, knowledge of the quality of water, what's coming out of the different mines, weather forecast data, all this. I think that covers it all, at least from what I know.
Great, thanks, team. A question from Mark. What are the approximate sizes of the project areas that you are targeting?
So the way we wanted to proceed is to have first a pilot on maybe I don't know what will be the reasonable size to have an idea of the scaling. Then the idea is to prove that it's working or to strengthen the technology if the maturity is not that big, and the idea then is to scale it up, and the surface we might talk afterwards can be about hundreds of hectares. It will really depend on the applications that we're talking about. It will depend if we talk about flora, if we talk about mammals. So it will depend. But the idea is to go first with a pilot on a smaller area and then to scale up.
Great, and just further to that as well, there's obviously these areas can span from rehabilitated land within an open pit mine or anywhere along a transport railway. It'll, like Frederick's point, depends on the application that is being explored and what level of scale it's at. Another question from Andrea. What are your timeframes for rehabilitation at these sites?
So the rehabilitation, it's ongoing. I mean, every year there is new lands that are rehabilitated. So as I was saying, it's really progressive. It's a process. We do not have, maybe you have in mind very large opening like for the copper industry. It's not the same configuration, the same context when we talk about nickel or manganese mining sites. It's something that is going cell by cell or lens by lens. So it's make possible the fact to really do rehabilitations year after year all along the mining life. So rehabilitation is happening continuously.
Yeah, maybe I can add a bit more on how our mines are working. So if you look at our nickel mines, it's oxide nickel, and we exploit the saprolite. And when we go deep enough, we reach a bedrock. Once we reach a bedrock, we know there's nothing else we can get. So usually these openings are used for backfilling. And then when it's backfilled, we do a full rehabilitation. So this is why it's really a process, an ongoing process. And it's the same with mineral sands, with the drag line, the dredge. The dredge is moving forward. It's taking the sand, processing it. And then when the sand is put back, we know there's nothing else we can do or we can get. So rehabilitation is happening. And with the manganese mine, same thing. It's a flat ore body. You have a bit of overburden, then you reach the main layer, and below the main layer, there's nothing else. So once you've taken the ore body layer, you can rehabilitate straight behind.
Great, thanks, Denny and Frederic. One of our next questions from Christy again. How much soil is moved, hand searched and stored?
I need to have an idea of the volumes. It's a tough question, actually.
It's a tough question. Yeah, on top of my head, I won't be able to answer. I would more talk like into hectares. I know that in New Caledonia, it's like maybe 100 hectares per year, which are moved. So it's like 10 to 20 centimeters, I would imagine. So that gives you an idea. For I don't know, for Comilog and for Senegal as well. It's unfortunately something we can find out, but top of my head, I don't know.
Great, thanks, Denny. A question from Benjamin again. Are there any social aspects of a solution you might be interested in that either involve or benefit the local communities around the mine sites?
Yes, why not? I mean, if the solution is proposing something which is more systemic with benefits for social in addition to biodiversity, it's fantastic.
Great. And then another one from Benjamin. Would your preference be for site staff to have zero involvement, i.e. as in part of the data collection solution as they're on site, or that they be involved in some capacity?
So on site, I did not mention that, but we have a dedicated team to biodiversity. We have 2 to 3 persons in each of our mines that are dedicated to biodiversity, and there are resources that can be used, of course, and that will be involved and that are actually already involved, even if we don't see them today during this webinar on the challenge.
Great. Any other final questions in the room? Now's your final chance, even if you want to ask one verbally as well. Great. Well, in that case, we've got a couple of quick ones that have come in last minute. Levi, what is the timeline for funding to arrive?
Let me take this question. I think it's so in March we conclude the topic and we have discussions for with the potential innovators to see what kind of we sign an NDA and we understand more about the technology. I think as soon as we finalize a particular innovation that we're interested in, we can move further with respect to funding and access to data and to the sites. So we are looking after the first quarter, probably after March, to kickstart this project.
And one from Raphael. Can you talk more about the biodiversity team?
On the ground.
On the ground.
Sorry, I did not get the hand. I believe you were talking about the biodiversity team.
Yeah, I think Raphael's interested in the biodiversity team that's on the ground or that are at each site. So those 3 people you mentioned at each site.
So there are people with background in environment or in ecology. We have 3 persons in New Caledonia that are piloting the biodiversity topics in New Caledonia, and then they have also different peoples where they can that they can use in the field on the day-to-day operation. We have also 3 persons in Gabon, and these persons are, for example, in charge of doing the studies, the monitoring as well. There is biodiversity monitoring, for example, with what I was talking about getting track of the boundaries of the different internal permits that are given to the operation. They are doing also monitoring, for example, of the fauna populations around with camera traps. And another person with an operator, and they are also involving the community. They are in charge of the nursery and the planting in the rehabilitation. In Senegal, there is also 3 persons dedicated to about the same things with studies, with monitoring, with nursery, and the nursery there has been fully subcontracted to a cooperative of people from the populations that are growing the plants in the nursery and they are planting. And having soon activities in Argentina, as I was saying, and here again I have 2 persons that are involved in environment and biodiversity. They have a larger scope than biodiversity. They are environment and biodiversity.
Great. I think that's all the questions we have. Last chance before we wrap up. Awesome. So thank you everyone for coming along to today's webinar. Feel free to connect with us through the Open Mine, which is Eramet's Open Innovation platform. Through there, you'll find our Unearth platform where you can submit your solution to the challenge and learn a little bit more, as we discussed. Yeah, that wraps up our today's webinar. Thanks for your questions and thanks for your attendance and If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.